Hello there, I hope you've had a great day, and I welcome you back to the Sunny Side Up podcast, episode 3. Today's episode is called Building Habits and Escaping a Rut, and I'm sure that we've all dealt with this at some point in our lives. Take lockdown as an example. I think that this was a big problem that a lot of us were going into a rut, whether it was because of homeschool or home office, and we just didn't have that motivation. We weren't in our usual work atmosphere. We were at home where we do eating, sleeping, chilling, not working. And so we suddenly had to make a whole mindset change, right? And some of us just shut down and we got into a rut and we didn't want to do much. On the contrary side, some of us were super productive, and don't ask me how because I was one of the people being in a complete rut. Now, building habits and escaping a rut is a difficult thing to explain and give advice about. There's no magic formula that I can give you that will make you instantly have only good habits and only good successes and will never be in a rut again. There is no formula for that, right? I mean, I wish I could give you that, and if I had it, trust me, I would, but such thing does not exist, and building habits is essentially just hard work and consistency. Consistency is what a lot of people struggle with. And I have to say myself, it is something I struggle with. It is something super hard. I mean, you have to keep up with doing something over and over and over again, which you maybe don't even like. So obviously, consistency can be a real struggle, but you're not alone. You're not alone, and we're in this struggle together, and building habits will always be a little tricky. But there's some ways that you can kind of go around it and make it a little bit easier and maybe even a little bit enjoyable. So I'm going to share some concepts with you today, but before that, I want to give you an image of what building habits can look like. And I learned this from my therapist, and I really loved this idea of it because it has helped me to visualize this whole process. So picture this, there's a well in a forest and your house is 3 miles away from it. And every day you have to walk to this well. And each time you walk for an hour. So essentially it's a really, really long way. One day you walk up a nearby hill and see that the route you've been taking all along for these past years has been such an extra long route. Like you were walking in a semicircle to that well. You have been wasting time, basically. And now you see that there's a way shorter route. You could half the time from going to your house to the well. Now you decide to do that, but the only problem is that the route from your house directly to the well is jungle. I mean, like you're in a forest, right? There's bushes everywhere, there's thorns. It's really terrible to walk. And now you have to decide, will you take the longer and easier and familiar route? Familiar, this is a key word. Or will you take the difficult route that's way shorter though? Thing is that, yes, it is so much easier just taking the familiar route. Taking the short route, it may save you time, but essentially it is just so energy taking. It's so energy wasting because, I mean, you have to climb through the bushes, literally. But the more often you take this short route, the easier it will become to walk down it, and it will become more familiar with each time. This decision is one you can make overnight. You can start a habit and kind of build up to it, start really small and then build your way up to it week for week for week for week. Or you can just start overnight. It may be super hard at the beginning, but you're also going to get into the whole routine, maybe even quicker. Now, this is just a personal choice. You can choose what works better for you. Maybe you have experience and that's where you can tell. Maybe you want to try something new and see if, the hardcore change overnight may work for you even better. I don't know. I personally like building up to it, but this is, again, personal. And only your individual, well-working way will take you to your success the fastest way possible. So this is the image that I really liked, and it may help you. Maybe you want to draw this down. And I'm going to now get started with the concepts that I mentioned earlier that could help you. So the first one is a cliche concept that you've heard about building habits. So obviously I had to, integrate it into my podcast. No, there's just a lot of truth behind this. There's a lot of truth. And yes, you've heard it a million times, but did you integrate it into your whole learning process? Because maybe you haven't tried it and it just sounds so lame, but in reality, it's exactly what you need. And that is start small. Start tiny, teeny, tiny, okay? Maybe if you want to live healthier, start with buying whole grain pasta or buying one piece of vegetable. If you want to read more, maybe you're going to read 1 page a day. And this is what I do. I set my goal to reading 1 page a day. And you may say, oh, that's such a small goal. What the hell? You'll never get anywhere with that. Well, okay, in 365 days, I'm going to get through a 365-page book. But in the end, I don't end up reading just 1 page. No, I end up reading about 10 pages out of free will. If you want to have a healthier hair washing routine, maybe start with going 2 more hours before you wash your hair. If you want to make writing a habit, start with 100 days a word. So, what? Start with 100 words a day, not 100 days a word. If you don't feel the motivation to make yourself food or to go to an appointment, or if you don't feel the motivation to get to school, the one thing I do, the one small tiny thing I do, put your phone down and get up. These are just the steps for getting started, because essentially getting started is where it's hard. The start is always super, super difficult because you're going to be like, oh, I have to write 2,000 words today. That is so demotivating. So demotivating. But if you say, okay, 100 words, that's it. You're going to write so much more. And I know it because you're going to get into that flow. The second concept is one habit at a time. It's kind of like learning a language. You don't want to learn Greek and Portuguese at the same time because you're going to get super confused. I'm learning French and Spanish at the same time, and heck yeah, I'm getting confused. So don't do that. Please do not do that. And it's the same thing with habits. If you don't give your mind time to process it and time to integrate this information to make it a habit, you're going to get confused and you're going to become inconsistent. So start with one habit, and once you've worked up to it a good way, start with another one. And do as many as you want to, as many as you can, as many as you can healthily take up, and as many as not overwhelm you, as many as are necessary. The third concept is create a source of inspiration. So now this is the time where you ask yourself, what triggers my motivation? What gets me going? Is it when I see a motivational TikTok? Maybe I can make myself a TikTok that will motivate me. Maybe it's a Pinterest board. If you're like looking up to be a teacher, you could make a Pinterest board about this whole job. Maybe it's music and you could make a playlist, or you could make like a little photo album of, super inspirational photos. Whatever it is for you that motivates you. And even if it's a person, like a study partner, a study buddy, is that a word? I don't know. Maybe it's a thought or a memory. So try to remind yourselves of these sources of inspiration. You can go back to these sources of inspiration when you need it. Because initially, any type of inspiration gets your motivation going, right? You get inspired by, let's say, some sort of bodybuilder, and then you get motivated to do sports. You see what I mean? Or you get inspired by seeing a ballet concert, and then you get motivated to start doing ballet. So it's the inspiration that gets the motivation going. The fourth thing is fight against the return moment, or the back to zero moment. Because you're going to have this. This is where you're, for example, in a forest and it's a really long path and you notice, oh my goodness, this is such a long path ahead of me, such a long way. Like I'm going to be walking for the next 3 days. So at the end of this path, there's 100 and where you came from is 0. If you turn back, it will not happen. But if you keep on going, eventually you will reach 100 because there is no other way. You are going to reach 100 because you're going to keep walking down this path. It can go up and down. It can be a really bumpy path. It can have so many hills, but you are going to reach the destination because that is simple physics. The 5th thing is think in the future. We are often told, don't think in the future, don't worry about it, but that's not what I mean. Think back from the future. What would your future self be proud of? Sometimes this works really well, sometimes this doesn't help at all, but think of what your 1 month older self would want you to do right now. Maybe they would be super, super happy that you took this step of doing the 3rd day in a row of doing a workout. Maybe they're going to be super proud of that. And you're going to say, okay, I'm going to do this because I know my future self will really be proud of me for it. The 5th thing is get going. There's these quiet, silent moments where we're just staring at a wall and we're like, okay, do I get started? Do I do this? Do I really want to commit myself to this? Yes, you do want to commit yourself to this. You do. You're just having doubts. But if you're contemplating, just start. Start it because you're only losing time, right? I mean, let's just face it. You're only losing time when you're just wondering, okay, can I do this? Can I not do this? Heck yeah, you can do it. Of course you can do it. Why couldn't you do it? One thing that always works for me is saying, okay, I could be done with this in 10 minutes. If it's like a workout, because I'm not the person to get super motivated, but obviously I want to stay healthy. And so I'm like, okay, in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, I got this workout down. And it's worked every time. I don't know how healthy or unhealthy this mindset is, but this is just a little trick, okay? Now, the last thing is also very typical, and that's the reward system. And now, think back, when do you feel most rewarded? Is it like a note that says, I'm so proud of you? Because I have this jar of notes that say like, I'm proud of you. Wow, you've done this so well. Wow, amazing. Or is it like some chocolate? Or is it a phone call with your best friend? Don't do these before, do these after you've done it. Rewarding systems don't work that well for me personally, but they may work wonders for you. I just want to make it clear that for some people, things work amazingly, while for other people, they don't work at all. So now I've reached the end of this podcast's episode. I'm a little upset because I loved talking about this a lot. It was so much fun. It was really much fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. And now remember that you are so much stronger than you ever can expect it. And oftentimes you see the strength in crises times, like for example, quarantines, and then you realize, okay, how strong I am to be coping with this, By the way, write down your goal. Really clearly write it down. So it's not maybe I'm going to do it. Yeah, I kind of started with doing this habit and I've kind of started doing sports and I've, kind of started not eating chocolate anymore. In the end, you are the one responsible for it and you have the choice to either reach your goal or to not. And no matter how weak you feel, there is so much strength in you that you may just not be able to see right now. But I do. I see that in you, okay? Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I really, really hope that you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any tips that you have in the comments or message me them because I'd love to hear about them. Now have a great day and take care, and perhaps I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!